What if a junior explorer controlled 3 separate copper gold targets and management believed any one of them could potentially become a company-making discovery? Well, today we're speaking with Dr. Len Brownlie, President and CEO of Prospect Ridge Resources. This company is advancing 3 key projects in British Columbia: Camelot, Excalibur, and Castle. Now, Camelot has already confirmed a copper-gold porphyry system. Excalibur is emerging as one of the company's most compelling drill targets, and Castle may represent the highest risk, highest reward opportunity in the portfolio. Now, the big question investors are asking is simple. Has Prospect Ridge assembled a collection of interesting exploration targets, or is this a company genuinely vectoring towards a major gold copper discovery? Today, we're going to separate evidence from theory, and we're going to examine what has actually been proven so far and discuss why management believes the next 12 months could be the most important period in this company's history. Len, welcome to the Market Mindset. We're excited to have you on here to talk about this. You've collected and reviewed hundreds of exploration projects over your entire career. Why Prospect Ridge? What did you see at Camelot, Excalibur, and Castle that convinced you that these assets were worth building a company around? That's our big frame today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much, Andrew, for having me on, and thank you to all the viewers who are tuning in. To answer your question, about a year ago, my friend Mike Iverson called me up, and he was looking for a little help in running Prospect Ridge. And I took a look at the company. It was a well-structured junior, had a great team behind it, and a good-sized treasury. But the project they had at that time, their goal was or a target was a polymetallic vein project near Terrace, BC. I looked at it. It's interesting. It needs a lot more work. And I felt that at that time, the company really needed a second or third focus. And so fortunately, two fellows that I've known and been friends with for probably 40 years, Henry Aumack and Dave Caulfield, who were the founders of Equity Exploration Consultants. They'd spent, 35, 40 years kicking around BC, looking at every exploration project available. Once they had sort of semi-retired, they had collected a number of projects, and they'd held on to them for about 10 years. And they were at the point where they'd advanced them as far as they could. And it was a beautiful marriage between the team that we had at Prospect Ridge, and we brought on Equity Exploration Consultants as our exclusive exploration consultants, along with the three projects that you've mentioned from Dave and Henry. And, these are really interesting projects because they've been expertly selected. They've had well-defined targets from prior work, and all the prior work has identified the results that are consistent with a copper-gold porphyry model. And in BC, that is the one model that will attract a major and that has the best chance of becoming a long-lived mine. And so that's really what attracted us to these. Now, the one thing is that in BC, the easy-to-find porphyries have been discovered, I would say, mostly. The ones that are underneath a shallow veneer of till cover, glacial till cover, are the ones that we're going to explore next and find next. And to do that, you need to do a lot of geophysics and also on-the-ground geochemistry. These three projects had most of that done, but in some cases they needed an extra program, which we did last year. So we did IP surveys at Castle, we did an IP survey at Excalibur, we did MAG at Castle, we've just completed MAG at Camelot as well, which we'll get into. So these projects needed just one more program to get them into the point of being really high priority drill targets. And so far, everything's working in that regard. And we're very excited about these projects.
And we are too. I mean, people that follow us understand that we have a drill sheet model that we use for scoring both production and exploration targets and companies. And this is scored quite high. So reach out to us. We'll send you the drill sheet so you can go through it in detail. And I'll mention a couple aspects of it while we're talking about what you guys are up to. But especially for where you're at, it's really highlighted a strong score to what not only have you assembled as far as the geology and what you're discovering so far as with the evidence, but it's the team. There's a number of pieces of the puzzle that have put together that have really made this a very interesting story to be paying attention to right off the bat. Never mind the fact that regardless of what gold's doing today, looking at asymmetric possibilities out there, this is a $4.5 million market cap company with a high drill sheet score. And to me, at the end of the day, that is something I'm interested in. And anybody who wants to call me and talk to that separately, I encourage you to. But we'll kind of frame the conversation around some of that too, because looking at this as a puzzle, putting puzzles together, would you say it's kind of like a mix of, yes, we've got the geology here. You've got scale as well. We haven't mentioned that. This is a lot of land that you've got. But it's also maybe some newer concepts or not misunderstandings of the past, but kind of looking at this puzzle in a different way, saying, listen, I think if we look at this a different way, this thesis becomes stronger.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. As I mentioned, most porphyries in BC that have been commercialized were identified from surface. Once you start having to do more geophysics, it becomes more complicated, obviously, but geophysics have improved vastly over the last few years. And, this kind of target model where you're looking at something that's slightly buried and using geophysics to target the core of the porphyry, it's been proven now. AMARC at the Aurora discovery in the Toodoggone, about 69 kilometers south of us. Kingfisher at the Highway 37 discovery. which is up in the Golden Triangle. Both of those projects have had success because they drilled buried porphyries, and they've had tremendous success. I mean, their share prices have gone up probably tenfold on the basis of one good hole. And that's the kind of model that we're pursuing as well. And these weren't projects that were staked last week and then decided to go get them. Henry and David have spent years kicking around the bush, as I mentioned, and have identified some really good targets that are just classic. They have the classic signatures of porphyries, but they need to be drill tested. And that's where we've got to now. We've really upgraded the targets by the geophysics that we've done, and we're now ready to drill. And in the case of Camelot, we've identified a system. We didn't hit the core of it, and there's a good reason for that, which we'll get to. But we think we have multiple targets on Camelot, not just one porphyry, but multiples. And just to finish that off, the reason for that is surrounding us is Vizsla Copper with their wood jam cluster. And there's a northeast trend on that project that there's at least 5 different porphyries all the way up the trend. And it trends right onto Camelot. And so, in our drilling, we only had 4 weeks and 2,000 meters before the drill permit expired. But in that time, we drilled 10 holes, 200 meters apiece across 1,900 meters. We hit copper mineralization in 9 of the 10 holes. So we're really excited about going back in there. What we found and what Vizsla is targeting now are very narrow surface signatures of the magnetics, because some of these porphyries only have about a 50-meter diameter surface expression. And unfortunately, the original mag survey at Camelot was over 100 meters and was done in 100 meter spacings, and it was done in 2 different versions or 2 different areas. And so it didn't stitch together very well. And we think now that if we went in and did a much narrower space survey, we'd get a lot better mag data. So we actually did that, just finished it at the end of May with a drone mag survey. Very inexpensive, very detailed, 50-meter spacings, 50-meter height above the tree line, just skimming the trees. And we haven't got the final products yet, but we're very excited about what it's showing us so far.
That's what's really interesting about, like, when you get into more the nuance of, like, approaching targets or approaching work, is sometimes those step outs can be too large for whatever project, doesn't necessarily there, but it's identifying that that can be a critical piece to that puzzle. So that's going to be news that's coming up reasonably short term, which is, we like to point out to people, is there urgency in a stock? What do I need to be paying attention to? So write that one down right now, because that is going to give us another strong indicator. And what are some other kind of indicators too, like that halo of a copper porphyry, or I don't know if you have any pathfinder minerals or anything. Is there any other indicators that someone needs to kind of pay attention to, say,
I'm going to sound like a broken record, because each of these projects has the characteristics of a buried porphyry. They have very good chargeabilities in the IP, and the chargeabilities really are indicating that, if you have high chargeability, low resistivity, it's indicative of sulfide mineralization. And so that's going to be chalcopyrite and pyrite primarily, but also chalcopyrite. If we get a high mag signature, it's probably meaning we're close to the phylic core of the porphyry. So if you have those coincident along with surface samples, high surface samples, anomalous surface samples of copper and gold, you've got a pretty compelling target. And basically, I can confidently say we have that at all 3 projects.
And that is significant. And this is where we're fortunate to have been talking to you and to have our little model that kind of knows these things, is that discovery stories often have moments where that internal thesis strengthens largely much earlier than the market even pays attention to notices, because they're waiting to say, what's the assay result, or what's this? They're waiting a little bit too long rather than say, let's look at all of the indicators, inching that risk down. well, still like that, you're still taking on the upside risk as the percent raise that you theoretically could get, but you're knocking down all the things that you need to see in order to hit the checkbox. Yes, we got this, we got this, we got this. And for someone who is into exploration and looking at projects, that's critical to be able to see those before someone else as well, namely ourselves and our subscribers, is that if we can see that those indicators are being met and that whether it's the halos or whether it's Pathfinder minerals and whatnot, that gives people a leg up to take a look at stories, to follow them and go, this story deserves a lot more attention than what it's getting, for certainly.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a market comment for us. We had to go a little bit quiet for a while because we've been waiting for drill permits. We're all set to go. We're doing all the logistics that are required to start a drill program at Excalibur, but we've been waiting on the drill permit. We feel that that's very imminent, but that has been a large part of the reason that our share price has suffered, because we simply couldn't announce anything to the market until we get that permit. And as I say, we're very close in getting that one, and I think we're very close in getting all three drill permits. And these are 3 to 5 year permits. So once they're in place, it's go time.
And that's an interesting aspect too, because I'm not very good at timing when markets do anything, or when a company knows when they're going to put out releases, or when someone gets a permit. So when we look at a story, we look and go, okay, like, could it take a couple more weeks? Could it take a couple more months? Sure. But I don't want to play the game of waiting till it comes out and the stock already moves to jump into something. I like to have a strict analytical tool I can look at and go, this is worth paying attention to. This is interesting. Do we have to sit and wait in it for a little bit before permits? Sure. Okay. That's no problem. I'd rather that than have the opposite of, we've got permits, we've got everything, we're out there doing stuff, but yeah, it's not, it doesn't have the indicators, or it doesn't have the strength of data and team and whatnot here as well. And I'll just add, as far as drill sheet goes, the parts where like you've scored low, because I always like to mention where it's so low, are things that really aren't terribly relevant right now, like metallurgy. Like, you're an exploration company, so having a low metallurgy score isn't a big deal. And certainly market awareness, a low score on that is actually a good thing, because people aren't paying attention, and that's the best time to be looking at strong stories that have a lot going on, that has a porphyry system, and saying, oh, okay, if people aren't paying attention, this is a good time to maybe pay attention.
I don't know of any other juniors out there with our market cap that have 3 projects. Any one of them could be a company changer with one drill hole.
Yes.
That's kind of where I get excited about the whole thing is, yeah, nobody's paying attention, but if we have success, and I think we will have success, we've already demonstrated that the technique works. And, if you look at A-Mark, you look at Kingfisher, the technique works. If you get the coincidence signatures and you have some good luck, you will find something, and you will find something that's exciting to the market.
And once again, let's kind of look over. We're reiterating it a little bit, but we're waiting on more proof. But how do we separate some of the speculation compared to the exact evidence in a bit more detail for, say, people that are a little bit more geological focused? So as I say, an analyst looks and goes, okay, well, tell me about the IP. What exactly are you seeing here that would get them a bit more excited, apart from a retail person who's looking, going, well, you're presenting legitimately 3 targets or 3 projects, not targets, sorry, that are large of scale. That's the other thing I want to reiterate. These aren't like possibly economic, possibly small enough, maybe we'll hit. These are scale. These are large, which once again hits that box that people want to see. Is it's the first question people say is, could this ever be scale? This could be scale. Never mind the fact that most porphyry systems are scale anyway. So what could we, if we're going to talk to a geo or an analyst and get them excited, what would you want to be referring to them about?
Well, I think there's a number of factors. As I mentioned, it's rare for a junior to have 3 really well-defined porphyry targets that are drill ready. And those were not fly by night or not selected carefully. These have a 10-year history to them, of these guys developing them, holding on to them, and then finally handing them off. And Dave and Henry have not only been our vendors, they've also come onto our advisory committee and have expressed an interest in participating in future financings. So they're backing these with everything they've got, and they're very excited about them. So having that kind of sort of lineage or tutelage behind you it really indicates that the projects have some good potential. And I think, you know, we are in a place where we have sufficient funding to drill, and you know, the geophysical signatures on these, the areas of the belts they are in. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, Camelot is in a very prospective area. We've got Vizsla Copper all around us. Fortescue, the huge Australian iron ore company, is, you know, when you look in our presentation deck at the location of Camelot, and you can see that Fortescue is off to the west. We've got Mount Polley and Gibraltar to the north of us. Yeah, Vizsla all around us. Iomin and Sumitomo are off to the west. This is a very prospective area, and we're pretty much in the center of it. So I really like the Camelot location, what we found so far, although we didn't hit the core of the porphyry. We're very confident that we're going to have better results in this next drill program because our targeting has become more refined and we have better geophysics, better mag anyway to go after. When you look at Excalibur and look at its location, it's right in what's termed the Babine porphyry belt. So there's the previously producing Huckleberry, Bell, Granala mines. You've got Duke, which is AMARC and Boliden off to the east of us. You've got the NAC deposit of American Eagle and Tech and South 32, which is probably 20 kilometers to the east of us. It's in a tremendous location. It has one of the best gravel road access I've ever seen from Smithers. It's about an hour and a half north of Smithers on the Lake Babine Forest Service road, and it's a tremendous road. It's like a 4-lane highway. So we've got good access there, and it's in a nice belt of Babine style porphyries. And the Babine ones tend to be a bit narrower in cross section, but tend to have a higher gold copper ratio. So that's really intriguing. And then Castle, which is up in the North Toodoggone area, it's about 130 kilometers from the Red Chris mine, but it's also in the North Toodoggone. So it's about 60 kilometers, 66 kilometers north of the AMARC Aurora discovery. There's Thesis Gold is developing the Lawyers deposit, I believe. And there's a whole lot of activity there between Cayule and which is Pacific Ridge. Sun Summit has a number of projects. TDG Resources had drilled a very good hole last year on the border with AMARC. So there's a lot of activity going into the Toodoggone, which originally was a gold vein model. And people are now discovering that, wait a minute, that was just on the halo or on the side of a much bigger buried porphyry. And AMARC has now come up with, I think, 3 different porphyry targets and centers that they've identified with some pretty good drill results. So all that tells you that the areas we are in are quite prospective. We've got sort of 30 square kilometers on each project. So we have size, and yeah, these things could scale very easily.
And it's interesting, our drill sheet kind of let us know that Excalibur may currently offer the highest probability of a near-term discovery. And once again, probability, I'm not telling the future, I'm not anything else, but there's lots of good indicators. But Castle, in theory, could have the greatest conceptual upside. So just that's right off the bat, knowing that we've got high probability, high conceptual upside. I mean, these are types of things that we like to see, you know, as in all things regarding markets or exploration. You're talking probabilities of events occurring. And we like to see that whenever you have that mix of, like, as you say, the geochemistry, extensive alterations, different intrusions, and whatnot. And of course, any encouraging IP. All of this is data that once it's expanded upon and delivered more upon, just improves that thesis and moves us forward, regardless of whether the market's recognizing it or not. And that's what we like to really focus in on and key in on. And you guys have, like, you are advancing this, and it is going very well. And once again, we like that when it's largely people haven't known about it, and that's what makes it very exciting for us.
Yeah, and I think with Castle, I mean, Dave and Henry were very keen on it. They felt that it had characteristics of an exposed lithocap, which you also see in the Cadia East deposit in New South Wales, Australia, one of the highest gold to copper ratios of porphyries. We're same age, same rock age as the Red Chris mine, a little over 200 million years. And we're picking up these incredible soil values in gold with up to 7 grams per ton in soils. That's pretty much unheard of.
Yes.
The limited IP survey we did last summer, it was only about 7 line kilometers, but it has highlighted that there's a very good looking target there with a lot of pink, hot pink dots. And there's also quite a bit of magnetite that we're finding on the project, which again is indicative of a porphyry. And so it's a really intriguing target. It just needs to be a little bit more geophysics done, so that when we go to this slide, you'll see there's some nice hot pinks, reds there in a very small area. And we want to expand that coverage, that 3D IP coverage this summer. And then we'll be ready to drill it in 2027. So the plan is to have a drill program at Excalibur in the very near term, to have one at Camelot a little bit later in the summer as more drills become available and some projects wind down in the high altitude. And in between, we'll be doing what we hope to be doing is an IP survey at Castle that'll set it up for 2027 drilling.
That's great, because I was going to ask, what should we be looking for in the next year to 18 months? And people always go, well, obviously a discovery hole, that'd be nice, and that would be nice. But also, if you got some confirmation of the porphyry core, what could that look like? What could you maybe drill that would give you, like, listen, everyone wants to hit that magic hole where we hit the dead center of a porphyry and here we go. But what would also give you enough strength to go, listen, like this, we're confirming this core, we're getting closer to it. That would be a material change overnight if you were to,
I mean, if all our Christmases came at once, we want to find something like AMARC did at Aurora, where their discovery hole was 82 meters of 1.24 gram per ton gold and 0.38% copper. But other things that would be very important would be having a 1-to-1 ratio of gold to copper, and a ratio of chalcopyrite to pyrite that favors chalcopyrite over an extended length, 100 to 150 meters. If we could get bornite, which is another copper mineral that's usually seen closer to the core of the porphyry, that would also be quite favorable. And, I got to point out that if you include the maiden program at Camelot last fall, we could have 4 drill programs in 2 years, which is not bad for a junior. And they're all essentially maiden programs.
And once again, I'll just reiterate, these aren't like typically you'll see someone's got their A project and then 2 other ones, and the C project might be a filler. This is 3 legit projects wrapped into one company. Once again, I urge people to send me an email or give me a call. Happy to share the drill sheet with you. You don't have to take my word for it. Our drill sheet is pretty thorough when it goes through all the data out there, including any comparable. And once again, naming some of the names that are neighbors, it matters. It doesn't guarantee anything, but it certainly matters whenever you're seeing all the indicators put together. It's telling more of a story than it's, say, closeology by itself or this by itself. It's that accumulation of information that starts to make stories very compelling and attract people and attract money.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dave and Henry have drilled into me that you really need to understand your target model. You have to have a target, otherwise you're just wandering around in the wilderness. And these projects really do have well-defined targets. And back in January, we were introduced to a fellow named Phil Schmerkansky, who's a very senior geologist. He was with some of the majors. He worked with Oxygen Capital as well. And he took a look at our projects, and we asked him to join us as sort of our senior technical consultant. And right away he said, I'm doing this because I really like your targets. And that was a real pat on the back, I think, as far as the company and its prospects. And Phil's done a wonderful job for us and has really helped define our programs and organize things for us, along with equity exploration consultants. So we have the geologists, we have a drill lined up, we have helicopter access that we're pretty much lined up on. So I think we have everything in place as soon as we get our permits to go drill.
And that truly is the glue. Like, I mean, we've talked a couple times, but I want to also reiterate that management and technical team, you have to have that. Like, it can't just be that it can be sort of strong. Like, when you have that team, which you guys have as well, that's the glue that can actually make it happen as well. Because there's lots of companies that have maybe one of the criteria that you really need to have, which is a strong project, or they might have a strong team and the project's just okay. This has 3 projects, the right team with strong backing to make it a legit effort, to say the least. And once again, I'm very careful with the way I have to phrase things, but this is a very compelling narrative and story that's developing real time. And our big move, if you're going to pay attention and you want to reach out to me, is let's get these permits. That's going to be the first step. And once that happens, we're off to the races.
Yeah. And I think we're very close to that. And I'd point out as well that, our chairman, Mike Iverson, has had a real track record of success, and they weren't overnight things. Sometimes they took 15, 20 years to get, say, Fortuna Silver off the ground and make it into the billion-dollar company it is now. Naya Gold was sold after they discovered 2 million ounces of gold to Cisco. So, those were long-term projects, and he is just a real fighter and a real, he just doesn't give up ever. And so that sort of that attitude has been infused into the whole team. So we're anxious to keep moving forward. And I'm really excited. I mean, it's like, I guess because the World Cup was on, this is a fairly reasonable analogy, but it's like we've played 88 minutes of a game, and now we're getting 2 penalty kicks, which could really seal the deal. So we're really excited to get going here.
Yeah, that portfolio, that is a great analogy to put it at, and important for people to understand here. I want to just kind of reiterate a few things and leave people with some thoughts here. You have very special projects, and you have the team. I mean, these are critical. We like this because the thesis is strong, but it's also methodical, and that can annoy people sometimes because they want to rush, and hey, drill a hole. and believe me, patience is not my virtue by any stretch of the imagination. Being more of a market guy, I'm also kind of like, let's just see the assays, let's get it going. But I would argue that that's terrible. That I even have that in me. Is that being slow and methodical and being very diligent in aspect tends to do better than people getting too excited, going out and rushing things. And that kind of highlight with Mr. Iverson as well is that that's what it takes sometimes, is that let's do this right the first time, because you could spend a lot of money on helicopters and drilling things very quickly if someone feels pressured to get to the market. And when we have very heavy technical based companies that we follow, we're always happy when we hear that, listen, we're going to do this methodically. We're going to do it properly and methodically.
Yeah, you just can't. You can promote on air for a little while, but you really have to have something.
Yes.
And we could go in and drill Castle this year because we have a target there, but we don't know if it's the best target. So let's spend a little bit more money, and when we go to drill, let's drill the best project or the best target that we have on that project. And so that's kind of where we're coming from. We want to do these things right. And you're right. It has to be methodical. So,
yeah. And that's where, I mean, once again, I'm fortunate and lucky that we use something where it keeps that narrative in my mind, because every company comes in waves and flows. There's drilling seasons, there's this and that. Sometimes people forget, wait, why do I own this one? What's up? And it would just be a dry spell. And people often, because there's no bells and whistles, and maybe we're talking about uranium and then we're talking about silver or whatever it is, they sell this stock to go buy that one, which sometimes works, but most of the time not. Is that if you have a framework and you understand why you're buying a company, and even if you only touch on it, look at it once every 3 months, that's fine, because nothing happens fast in mining. But you need to have that framework as to, why did I buy this? What was the story? Are we moving forward? And that is rarely reflected in a stock price. And that's the mistake a lot of people make too. Not that I want to make a huge market commentary, but it's that reminder of, do we have something that says, yes, they've advanced the thesis? And for me, it's like, if the stocks come down, well, great, I'm buying more, because that the thesis has improved, it's strengthened. Is there continuity? Are they finding the things? Has the IP revealed anything? And it's too easy with the amount of companies that people try to follow to have that diligence or that model to make sure that you are tracking what's important, rather than the what ifs or following a promotion too far.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, in our case, my error perhaps was assuming that we would get drill permits quickly, and that in BC has not been the case recently. But we've done a whole lot of First Nations engagement. We've done all the sub permits that are required, water use and forestry and everything else on these. We've done environmental studies. We've done baseline environmental studies. We've done archaeological baseline studies as well. And so we've got all that in place. And I really do think that we'll be receiving permits in the very near future. And that's, our thesis hasn't changed one iota in the last 4 months. And in fact, with the MAG survey at Camelot, we also did some thin section work there, which helped identify really finely disseminated mineralization. All these things are developing our story, and it's just slow, methodical work. And yeah, unfortunately, some investors get tired and they're not hearing a lot of news. No, nothing's changed in that regard. We're really poised now to hit the gas and drill these things. And I'm very, very, very excited about it. And because you just don't get that many opportunities in this game to drill discovery type situations. And even in a bad market, a discovery is always going to, appreciate and accelerate the share price. So that's where we're coming from.
Absolutely. And once again, I look at hundreds of companies. I look at tons, from like extremely low scoring ones to pretty, or say like a very high scoring one, like Cameco. Regardless of the metal, we do tons of these drill sheets on projects, and this is very strong. It's very, very strong. And it's easy for me to get excited when I see a 4.5-5 million market cap company that has 3 projects sitting in it. In a bit of an unloved market right now. I think that's going to change very soon. Again, hopefully by fall. But this is even something, if Warren Buffett was to get into mining, he would say, yeah, look for the unloved, the ones that people aren't paying attention to, but have a structural thesis that is strong and the right team to apply it. And it's been advancing its thesis. Hey, that's something we're going to pay attention to and we're going to track. And hopefully, if you're out there, reach out to me. Hopefully, you're going to track it as well, and send me any questions as well if you have any concerns or questions about the project. And we can also certainly follow up with Dr. Brownlie as well, and I can certainly forward those questions to him. I don't want to bombard him with giving out his number or email, but reach out to me first, and I'll certainly get a list of questions together if you have them. I'm going to leave you with the last word, because I think people usually tell if I'm excited about something or I'm not. Once again, it's not whether Andrew likes it or not. It's whether our model, which we're having a lot of success with, is telling us to be excited, and it's telling us to be excited. And hey, I'm an easily excitable guy if it's telling me to be. So
I can tell.
Yeah,
I'm happy you're excited about our projects, because I honestly, the 40 years I've been in this game, I don't think I've ever had 3 projects that any one of them, one hole a discovery, it's going to re-rate the company entirely. And it's going to send us on our way, hopefully, to much higher market cap and the ability to continue to develop these projects. So yeah, we're super excited, you know, and the time is now. We're going to be drilling this summer. I'm quite confident we will be drilling this summer, and the targets look really, really good. So what more can we do?
That's it. We'll leave it at that, because that's strong enough. If you need any more information than that, let me know. But you've been warned. Pay attention out there. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. It's been a good crowd here, and we'll certainly have our eyes peeled for those permits coming in the news, and we'll reach out to everyone and let them know, and have Dr. Brownlie on it as well as soon as we've got something, you know, to further talk about that's advancing this thesis. But we really appreciate the time, and once again, to let people know out here. That's our job. You know, my job is to source out companies that are doing excellent work and to highlight them. And we're thrilled to have you here.
Well, thank you, Andrew. Thank you to everyone who's listened in on this. Really appreciate it. And yeah, stay tuned. We've got good news coming.
All right. Take care. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the World Cup as well. I think Canada's playing today in Vancouver.
In Vancouver, 12 noon. Yeah. So
there we go. Enjoy, everybody.
Right.
Take care.